Ethan Clarke had never expected to be famous, not in this galaxy, and certainly not on Zithera. He had arrived on the bustling trade hub with only a small cargo of exotic minerals, hoping to sell them for a decent profit and move on. The spaceport was alive with the chatter of dozens of alien species, their voices blending into a chaotic symphony of clicks, whistles, and low hums. He had always been fascinated by alien worlds, but he had learned early on that curiosity could get you killed if it wasn't tempered with caution. Ethan adjusted the strap of his satchel as he navigated through the crowd. Aliens with 4 arms and iridescent skin passed by, their eyes flicking at him curiously. Humans were rare here. They were often seen as fragile, ill-prepared for the complex systems of galactic politics and technology. Ethan had learned to keep his head down and his wits sharp, relying on quick thinking rather than brute strength. He had just finished bargaining with a Zitheran merchant over a set of luminescent crystals when the announcement came. A voice, amplified across the ceremonial hall, cut through the hubbub like a blade. "I need a husband," the voice declared. Ethan froze. He looked around, trying to locate the source. The crowd had fallen silent. All eyes turned toward the grand palace at the center of the hub, where a massive balcony overlooked the plaza. On it stood a figure draped in shimmering robes, her presence commanding and unmistakable. Princess Lyra of Zithera. She was young, no more than 200 standard years old, which was considered young for her kind. Yet she carried herself with the authority of a ruler who had already faced 100 battles of diplomacy and strategy. Her hair shimmered like liquid silver, cascading down her shoulders, and her eyes glowed faintly with a violet light that made her seem otherworldly. And then, to Ethan's absolute disbelief, she pointed directly at him. The plaza erupted. Gasps, whispers, and shocked murmurs filled the air. Humans had never been singled out for anything like this before. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. He had barely survived several minor scrapes with alien thieves and bureaucrats, but being publicly chosen by a princess? That was a different level of trouble entirely. He swallowed hard. "Me?" he muttered under his breath, though he knew the crowd could hear. "Yes," Princess Lyra said, her voice carrying over the plaza with perfect clarity. "You, human, come forward." Ethan's legs felt like lead. He had never been particularly tall or imposing, and compared to the tall, multi-limbed Zitherans surrounding him, he looked like a small child. The thought of stepping forward in front of thousands of strangers made him want to run. But retreat wasn't an option. Refusing a direct royal summons could have consequences he wasn't ready to imagine. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, every eye following his movements. The princess's gaze never wavered. There was a flicker of amusement in it, but also an unmistakable seriousness. This was not a joke. She had chosen him, and now he had to respond. Ethan moved through the plaza as whispers spread like wildfire. Some aliens scoffed, muttering about the absurdity of a human being singled out for marriage. Others watched with curiosity, fascinated by the human's reaction. He tried to focus on his breathing, trying to ignore the pounding of his heart. When he reached the base of the palace stairs, a Zitheran official, tall and severe, stepped forward. "You will accompany the princess to the ceremonial hall. The choice of consort is not to be taken lightly." "Yes, sir," Ethan said, though he wasn't sure if his voice sounded confident or trembling. The stairs were enormous, carved from a pale, reflective stone that seemed to glow softly under the sunlight. As Ethan ascended, he noticed how alien the palace truly was. The walls shifted colors subtly, responding to the emotions of those nearby. Symbols of past rulers moved like living murals, telling stories of wars, alliances, and betrayals. Every step felt surreal, and Ethan had to remind himself to breathe. At the top, he was greeted by Princess Lyra herself. She extended a slender, elegant hand. "Ethan Clarke," she said. "I hope you understand what you have been chosen for." I think so," he replied cautiously, unsure how to respond. "Marriage here is more than affection," she explained, her eyes piercing into his. "It is a bond of mind, strategy, and courage. You will need to prove yourself worthy, not just to me, but to my people." Ethan nodded. He wasn't sure what proving himself would involve, but he had learned that hesitation could be fatal in alien societies. Lyra gestured to a massive chamber. The walls shimmered with holographic displays, showing complex patterns and machines that Ethan couldn't immediately comprehend. "This is the trial chamber," she said. "Your task is simple. Show that you can adapt, think, and survive. Many have tried before you and failed. I have faith you may succeed where others have not." He swallowed. The chamber was intimidating, filled with intricate mechanisms, shifting platforms, and zero-gravity zones. Ethan's mind raced. He had trained for unpredictable situations back on Earth, but this was unlike anything he had imagined. As the trial began, Ethan quickly realized that brute strength would do him no good. The first obstacle was a floating platform with holographic puzzles that rearranged themselves every few seconds. He focused on the patterns, noting how the symbols moved and interacted. His human intuition allowed him to see solutions the automated systems hadn't anticipated. Other contestants had attempted similar trials in the past, aliens of various species, but most had relied on sheer physicality, failing to consider the fluidity and logic of the puzzles. Ethan, using nothing more than careful observation and quick thinking, navigated the first section with surprising ease. The next challenge was a zero-gravity maze. Platforms rotated and obstacles appeared without warning. Ethan floated, twisting and grabbing handholds as he calculated trajectories. He remembered a training trick from his early space missions. Treat movement like a conversation with gravity, anticipate its responses, and use it to your advantage. Slowly, he made his way through the maze, each step earning quiet murmurs from observers. Princess Lyra watched intently. There was a spark of approval in her eyes as Ethan adapted and improvised. He noticed for the first time that her test wasn't just about skill, it was about character. He had to remain calm under pressure, think creatively, and most importantly, not give up. A sudden alarm sounded, signaling the final stage. A series of holographic projections created simulations of hostile environments, collapsing structures, sudden energy surges, and alien creatures designed to test reflexes. Ethan's mind raced. He realized that panic would be his enemy. Instead, he focused, breaking the scenario into smaller problems, addressing each with a logical solution. He dodged, leaped, and manipulated holographic controls with precision. Slowly but surely, the obstacles fell behind him. The crowd, which had been silent in disbelief, now murmured in awe. Many had expected the human to fail spectacularly, but he was succeeding in a way that no one had anticipated. By the time he reached the final platform, Ethan was exhausted, yet exhilarated. He looked up at Princess Lyra, who nodded once, sharply, her expression unreadable but undeniably approving. "You have done well, Ethan Clarke," she said. "Few have ever completed this trial, and none have done so with your resourcefulness. You are promising." Ethan swallowed hard, relief and disbelief mixing in equal measure. He had survived the impossible test and, in doing so, had begun to earn the respect of an entire alien society. The crowd erupted into applause, some hesitant, some enthusiastic. Ethan realized that he had not only proven himself to the princess, but had also demonstrated something far more significant. Humans, underestimated and often dismissed, could rise to challenges no one expected them to overcome. As he descended from the trial platform, he felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. The trial was over, but his journey had only begun. Princess Lyra approached him, her eyes curious. "This is only the first step," she said. "If you are to truly be my consort, you must navigate the politics, the intrigues, and the expectations of my people. Are you prepared for that?" Ethan took a deep breath. The galaxy had never asked much of humans before, at least not in this way. But as he looked at the princess and the expectant faces around him, he felt a spark of determination. He would not be dismissed. He would show that human ingenuity, courage, and heart could stand alongside the most advanced civilizations in the universe. "I'm ready," he said, his voice steady. Princess Lyra nodded once, a faint smile touching her lips. "Very well, human. Then let us see what you are truly capable of." And with that, the story of an unlikely hero, and the human who would stand beside an alien princess, was only beginning. Ethan Clarke had survived the trial, and the plaza of Zithera still buzzed with whispers about the human who had astonished everyone. But surviving a test designed to challenge physical ability, intellect, and adaptability was only the first step. The real challenge had only just begun. Princess Lyra did not choose a consort lightly. To be her partner meant understanding the complex web of Zitheran politics, customs, and expectations, and Ethan knew he had a long way to go. The morning after the trial, Ethan was escorted into a grand chamber within the palace. The walls shimmered with patterns that seemed alive, reflecting both light and emotion. He could see glimpses of the planet beyond through enormous windows, cities carved from crystalline structures, floating gardens, and ships gliding silently through the sky. It was breathtaking, but Ethan had little time to admire it. Lyra was already waiting. "You performed well yesterday," she said, her voice calm but serious. "You have shown intelligence, courage, and the ability to adapt. But being a consort is not just about surviving tests. It is about understanding people, strategy, and the responsibilities of leadership. Do you think you can handle that?" Ethan straightened his shoulders. "I will try. I want to learn." Lyra studied him, her violet eyes searching. "Very well. We begin with observation. You will spend the next cycle with my council. You will listen, learn, and, when appropriate, offer counsel. Do not expect to be praised for insight. Your ideas will be tested, debated, and often opposed. That is the way of my people." Ethan nodded. He had dealt with difficult leaders before, but this was an entirely different level. The council chamber was vast, filled with alien figures, each representing a different region of Zithera. They had forms ranging from sleek, insect-like bodies to massive armored frames. When Ethan entered, conversations paused, and dozens of glowing eyes turned toward him. The first meeting was challenging. Council members spoke in rapid sequences of clicks and hums, occasionally punctuated by words in common galactic standard, a language Ethan could understand, but that did not capture the full nuance of their tone. Aliens argued with intense passion over trade routes, resource allocation, and security measures. Ethan listened carefully, taking notes and absorbing details. When a question was directed at him, he paused, considering before speaking. "If we redirect a portion of the mining operations toward the outer moons, we might gain resources while avoiding conflict with the neighboring systems," he said cautiously. "It may require increased transport efficiency, but the long-term benefit could outweigh the short-term cost." There was a silence. Then murmurs spread across the chamber. Some council members scoffed at a human suggesting changes, while others leaned forward, intrigued. Lyra's expression remained neutral. But Ethan noticed the faintest smile at the corner of her lips. The day passed with constant discussion and observation. Ethan realized that the aliens' disagreements were often less about the specific issues and more about testing one another's patience, foresight, and creativity. He began to notice patterns, the way certain gestures indicated agreement, the subtle timing of responses that revealed alliances and rivalries. By the end of the session, a few council members nodded in his direction, acknowledging the human's potential. That evening, Lyra led Ethan to the palace gardens. Floating pathways drifted above luminous plants, and small bioluminescent creatures flitted through the air. "The trial was about you against obstacles," she said. "The council is about you among people. Leadership is not just intelligence, it is judgment, empathy, and the ability to navigate complexity. You must prove you can handle it." Ethan took a deep breath. "I will do my best." Lyra's gaze softened slightly. "That is all I ask. There will be challenges, human, some of which may put your life at risk, but those challenges will also show who you are." The next week was a whirlwind. Ethan participated in council debates, strategic exercises, and simulations of potential conflicts. Each day, he relied not on brute strength, but on his ingenuity. He solved logistical problems, predicted outcomes that others overlooked, and proposed unconventional solutions that, surprisingly, worked. One afternoon, a crisis erupted. A neighboring planetary system threatened to block a trade route vital to Zithera. The council was in turmoil, debating military action, sanctions, and negotiation. Ethan listened carefully, noticing that most of the council's proposals were reactive. He stepped forward. "Instead of confrontation, we could offer a shared benefit," he said. "If we supply them with a portion of our resources and technology, we can secure the route and build an alliance. It may cost more initially, but the long-term gains, security, trade stability, and goodwill, will outweigh the expense." The chamber fell silent. The aliens had not expected such a nuanced approach from a human. Several council members argued against it, but Lyra's expression indicated she was considering the strategy seriously. After a tense discussion, the council reluctantly approved Ethan's plan. Within days, Zithera established diplomatic ties with the neighboring system, avoiding conflict entirely. The success earned Ethan recognition. It wasn't praise in the celebratory sense. Zitherans were not given to open admiration, but subtle gestures, nods of respect, and careful acknowledgement that the human had indeed proven himself. Even Lyra allowed herself a small smile. One evening, after another long day of council work, Lyra invited Ethan to the palace balcony. The sky above Zithera was filled with a kaleidoscope of stars and passing ships. Ethan could see moons orbiting distant planets, and the gentle hum of energy fields surrounding the city below made the world feel alive. "You have done well, Ethan," Lyra said. "Your human traits, curiosity, adaptability, courage, have brought success where others might have failed. But being my consort is more than strategy. It is also about trust, loyalty, and understanding each other. Do you believe you can stand by me, not just as an advisor, but as an equal?" Ethan hesitated, considering the weight of her words. "I will stand by you, Princess. I may not always know the right answer, but I will do everything I can to learn, to support, and to help." Lyra's eyes softened. "That is all I ask, and that, human, may be the most important quality of all." Days turned into weeks, and Ethan continued to navigate the challenges of the court. He encountered jealousy, intrigue, and tests of patience, but his human creativity, empathy, and courage consistently set him apart. Slowly, he became not just a curiosity or novelty, but a trusted figure within the palace. One morning, a council member attempted to sabotage a diplomatic mission, misrepresenting intelligence reports to provoke conflict. Ethan quickly analyzed the situation, cross-referencing data and identifying inconsistencies. He presented a clear report to Lyra, who acted swiftly to prevent disaster. The council member's plan was exposed, and Ethan's role in averting the crisis earned him quiet admiration from many of the previously skeptical nobles. By now, Ethan had begun to see the deeper truth of Zithera. Despite the alien sophistication, the politics, and the complex hierarchy, the core challenges were similar to what he had faced as a human: understanding people, anticipating problems, and finding creative solutions. And in each of these, he had proven that humanity, though often underestimated, was capable of brilliance. The final step came during a public ceremony. Zithra celebrated its first interstellar alliance in decades, a coalition that would ensure peace and prosperity for generations. Ethan and Lyra stood together before thousands of citizens and dignitaries. The crowd had watched Ethan's progress with growing interest, and now there was recognition. This human, once doubted and dismissed, had helped secure a brighter future for the planet. Lyra turned to him, her expression unreadable at first, then softening. "Ethan Clarke, you have shown strength, intelligence, and courage beyond what I expected. You are no longer merely a consort chosen for ceremony. You are my partner, my ally, and a symbol of what humanity can achieve." Ethan felt a surge of pride. All the fear, the uncertainty, and the challenges had led to this moment. He had not only survived, but had proven that humans were capable of extraordinary feats when faced with the unknown. As the ceremony concluded, Ethan looked out over the crowd. Seeing faces filled with curiosity, respect, and hope, he realized that this was only the beginning. Together with Princess Lyra, he could help shape the galaxy in ways no one had imagined. His human ingenuity, courage, and determination had earned him a place in a world that had once dismissed him, and he intended to make the most of it. For the first time in his life, Ethan felt the full weight and the full potential of being human in a universe that underestimated his kind. And he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them not with fear, but with the relentless determination and creativity that had carried him this far. The stars above Zithra sparkled like a promise. Ethan Clarke, the human who had been pointed out by an alien princess, had become something greater than anyone expected, a symbol of the remarkable potential of humanity in a vast, unknown galaxy.